Konstantina, can I bring you in first? Working at the EU and as a European Commission urban expert, let me ask you, just as an opening statement, where are we in terms of understanding what resilience means in face of these incredible challenges that we are facing, both internal within our cities? Our cities themselves are reaching the limits of their capacity in many ways. And then we have external challenges and demands on them as well. So just to give an opening sort of view, how are we doing, and what are some of the things we need to be thinking about?
Hello. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be connecting from the island of Kos. I just started my summer break, so it's a very good way to start to be here with you. If you allow me, I'm going to open up with a small provocation. Well, it's interesting because post-COVID, resilience seems to be the talk of the day. So everybody uses this phrase, this word, we're building resilience, whether it's national resilience, urban resilience, climate resilience, social resilience, heat resilience, and anybody can add to that. Risk resilience, risk management, which has made me think that the understanding on what resilience actually is, it's not there. It's not given. And it wasn't given since at least from my end, I started working in the field of urban resilience, which was 2014. We have seen a development which is reflected in global and European policy documents like the new urban agenda, national urban resilience framework, or national resilience frameworks, depending how it's called. There is, I would argue, there is a broad understanding that we have moved beyond disaster risk reduction management. And there is also an acceptance that the starting point for building resilience is disaster risk reduction management. But then beyond that, so we know that our starting point is that we have more and more intense phenomena which are related mainly to climate change. We combine this with an understanding that those phenomena, those crises, they are exacerbated by social weaknesses, fundamentally that weaken the fabric of our society. And we call these in Resilience Cities Catalyst and RCC, the 100 Resilient Cities program, was called the long-term stresses. And that the combination of these two creates within the 21st century conditions of increasing risk, which might be unmanageable. So that, I would say, it's a general understanding. But then there are dimensions on resilience, urban resilience, national resilience. I will use those two terms because now we do have policies at the national level addressing resilience. There are asks that do not take into consideration the regulatory reforms that might be needed in order to build resilience to risk, to have an improved risk, let's say, management and reduction, fundamentally processes that improve the daily living of the citizens, right? That is the goal. Very recently, we also have a positive, let's say, development, which is sorry, I'm in a coffee shop and you might be listening to Greeks. We are playing against Germany at the Olympic Games. So that was a bit unlikely. I chose the wrong place, so I apologize. But fundamentally, in 2022, we had the midterm review of the Sendai framework that, in my opinion, at least gives an excellent kind of backdrop together with the new urban agenda on a more holistic understanding of resilience. So states have approved that, and they have approved that we need to build this holistic resilience, inclusive, an inclusive approach to our policies. So that is what we have, in my opinion, and this is where I will end. What we don't have is an improved understanding of the processes that need to be adopted at the national level and also at the sub-national level. We still see municipalities and local administrations asking for additional powers, while at the same time there are increased demands. A recent example here in Greece is the government adopted a new law only in May 2022, asking all municipalities to have resilience strategies. But I would question if there is an understanding of what is a resilience strategy and why should all municipalities, starting from the capital of Greece, and that's for every country, and down to a very small, let's say, cluster of villages that constitute a municipality, do they all need to have a resilience strategy? And if yes, what is that? So this is, I would say, the spectrum. And I want to share, and this is where I conclude, actually. I was looking for, I really like the new urban agenda for drivers for resilience, but they call it transformational change. And that is the essence of what we need in the 21st century. We need to accept, as we're going into the 2030s, which it's in six years, less than that we need to address transformational change. And the 4 levels is policy and legislation. I mentioned that a bit. And governance is the second one. Urban and land use planning, and I will use some examples around that afterwards. And financing mechanisms, which most of you have probably heard. That's the other. Building finance resilience. I forgot about that. Financing resilience. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Well, that was definitely Konstantina. That was definitely a good start to everything. I mean, you brought in so many issues around that. First of all, the need for regulation. I mean, as we know, regulation just takes massive amounts of time, 10 years and 20s of years to do things. And I was in an EU meeting recently, and somebody was very, very proud that it had taken 16 years for the EU to agree on a definition of crisis. And they felt that this was really something that would allow them to move forward. And I thought, why does it take 16 years? I mean, basically it takes 10 minutes, you agree it, and then you move on. I'm not sure why it takes 16 years. So the question of regulation on one side and then reality on the other, I think is a dynamic that we're all facing.